Welcome to the American Small Business League podcast. I am Bruce Torres, and with me is Vance Bostic, who is running as a Democrat for Congress in New York's 8th District. And before I read a little bit about you, Vance, how are you today?
I'm doing well. It's a pretty good day. I just got done designing some posters that I sent in to be printed out that I'll be putting around the district, so it's been productive.
Excellent, good. Well, your website is Vance B for NY8, Vance B FORNY 8.com. And Vance was born and raised in the projects of Coney Island, and while working in every corner of the service industry, got his MBA. And I'm not going to keep reading. I'm going to ask you to talk to me and tell us all about you, your campaign, why you're running. I'll interject a bit, but we'll really I really want you to put all that on the table, Vance,
Yeah,
please.
for sure. Um, I started running because I realized that at the core of our problems, Congress is owned. And if we want anything to change, we have to take back that ownership of Congress and return the power of the seat back to the people. I think that Congress has lost their humanity, and what we need is real public servants in these positions, not more career politicians, not more law degrees. We need people with humanity at their forefront, at their priority. And that's what I feel like I embody as somebody who's worked in the hospitality industry. The people and service work is something that I am close with and something that I really believe in. So that's where I'm at. That's where I started running. After I had graduated, for a while, I was like, what am I going to do? Like, the world feels like it's falling apart, and I don't know how else to help. And then, from watching Hakeem kind of be a failure in the district and just nationally, really, I felt that that would be the best thing for me to do. Like, that position was missing somebody who actually cared about the people. That position was missing someone who truly wanted to put humanity first. So, yeah, that's where I was like, this is where I think I need to be in my life.
Yeah, and Hakeem Jeffries, he's the minority leader in the House, right? And he's holding the
Yep.
seat in your district, the 8th District, which is mostly, or
Yep.
if not completely, in Brooklyn. Would you flesh out for me two things you choose in which order? Some of your, I'm going to say, accomplishments and reasons why people get convinced, like, yeah, Vance could do the job. And then also, and people on your website, it's crystal clear, but tell me, and teach us the top one, two, three, four, however far you want to go, things you want your district to hear right now, like, okay, I would love to send Vance to go to Congress and do those things. And don't rush. I'm all ears.
Yeah. I think at the forefront of it all, it's really just about having people be heard. It's about giving our voice back to the population. One of the things when Zoran won in the primary in June, I was like, that's what we need. We're missing connection. We're missing people who have hope. We're missing people who want to participate in politics. So a big part of it is about giving, specifically like our service industry workers, back the voice. People who work overnight, these late night shifts who don't feel heard, giving them back their voice. It's about allowing people to have their dignity. Like, that's really at the core of why I'm running. It's about giving back the people the power directly. I have this like vision of like modernizing the way we connect with the constituency and to connect with the population, where I would really love to run polls in the district to see how people want me to vote on bills, particularly. I would really love for the district to be able to help write bills out, to help formulate what we want to do. Really just working as a team with each other, with everybody that's here. That's top priority, making sure that people are protected, making sure that people are safe, making sure that people are heard and understood. That's like at the core of why I want to run and why I'm running for this position for sure. I
Thank
hope
you.
that works.
What are the top, one, two, three, four top issues that you
Like my
want to
policies.
tackle? Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, definitely we want to make sure that housing is a human right. Enough of this like making people struggle. We want to like tax like vacant lots. There's so many vacant apartments out there that even if we don't tax them, we need to be able to put the homeless people into them. I think that is such a core issue. There's also with I want to do an artist and gig workers bill of rights, and that's something that's very close to me, and especially as somebody who's worked in the arts and somebody who's worked in the service industry and have a bunch of gig work, that is something that is a priority, making sure that these people are protected, especially being in New York City. We keep seeing the NYPD throw away vendor food constantly, fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, just throw it all away. I think that those people need to be protected, especially as AI is creeping more into the work scene and people resort more to artistry and gig work and just being vendors. Those positions strongly need to be protected. Um, Medicare for all, I feel like goes without saying. That's something we've been asking for way too long. That's something I think that we definitely need to just do now. Like no more asking about it, definitely doing it. Then there's other things like ending Citizens United. These are things that I feel like people have been asking for so long that we want done. Enough asking. I think we just need to do them. There's single subject bills, which I believe we are so hurt by having these big bills that have so much things in it that our Congress people can pick which ones they want to do, whether they vote against something or they vote for something. They all pick who wants to be the bad guy. So I think focusing on single subject bills will help everybody so we can narrow down exactly what we're doing. And in return, all of this I believe will help the district and the nation at large just by giving people the opportunity to live easier, to not live on the streets and not be in fear that they're gonna be homeless from not making enough money. I think that's at the priority of all of my platform is making sure that the people are safe for sure.
Thank you. How do you see protecting gig workers? And for older folks like me, I can imagine what a gig worker is. What's a gig worker?
A gig worker is somebody that takes like any random job. I mean, you could even get a gig work just
Okay.
doing like a single catering gig. You know, you can get a job at a catering hall. You could do a bartending gig. You could do a cleaning gig.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of, and you can really consider anything to be a gig work. If it's just like single work that you kind of just sign on for, I would consider that to be gig work for sure. Even an Uber driver, that's a gig job. You know what I mean? DoorDash, those are gig jobs. There's plenty of different areas, and I think by protecting them is just extending OSHA to these things, extending just regular protections that normal people have, well, not normal people, but regular jobs, like full-time jobs, really is what I should say, have. Especially with people, this is why we need Medicare for all because it kind of works together with that, where making sure that they don't have to struggle to make their ends meet, and if they get sick, they don't have any coverage. So we really want to just make sure that all of that is really protected. It all kind of goes hand in hand with each other for sure.
Thank you. And by describing single subject bills, you're a proponent of those because right now they can be clustered and bundled as you described, right? And
Yeah.
is there a prohibition against such bills? Would it take active new legislation in order to make those possible, or are they just rare? And you're saying I'm really going to submit and draft single subject legislation.
Yeah, I don't think that I've barely ever seen anything that's single subject. These bills are so packed with things from all kinds of things. Sometimes they are almost in the same subject, but a lot more often they definitely have more things in them than just one single subject. So if we're talking about healthcare, then the bill should just be about healthcare. There shouldn't be something about like oil in it also. Like it just makes no sense at all. So I
Thank
think
you.
that's definitely really what the focus is cleaning up the way the bills are presented, making sure there's not a bunch of things in there that just because we think something one thing is positive and there's a bunch of bad negative things in there,
Yeah.
we don't want to push those bills through.
I hear you. Codify and make it official. Listen,
Mm-hmm.
bills have to be single subject. It could have lots of depth and be very wide, but
Mm-hmm.
it's got to be about that because legendarily, what you're describing is a pork-filled bill. You know, that's the
Mm-hmm.
mockery of it. Like, well, we thought we were voting for a new highway, but we're giving this big businessman over here
Yep.
100,000 acres of this prime farmland that
Yeah.
it's in the fine print on page 1,000 of this bill that looks
Yep.
like it's otherwise about a highway or whatever.
Yep.
I understand. Um, you referred to Representative Jeffries. How has he failed the district?
You know, one of the things that I constantly think about, one of the things that actually sparked my anger with him was when I saw him at like union rallies, but then I look at like his voting record and he's voting in favor of Amazon's union busting. I forgot which it was, but he just recently also voted in favor of another union busting also. And it's just like stuff like that. Like he got $3 million for like New York City housing. But then also like, and he's like proud of it. And I'm not saying that's not a bad thing at all. Like it is a good thing that he did that. But also he's voting for 14 billion to send overseas to Israel for like war. And that's a problem. Like I think he can do a lot more for the district. And also, he has one of the lowest constituency ratings out of all of Congress members. So, like, he pops in for like what I feel like is just photo ops. He'll come in for a photo, he'll go in for a rally, but then he throws the rocks and hides his hands. He smiles in our face, but he's voting against us behind our back. It's consistent. Now, not every bill is like that, but there are a lot of like he voted against capping credit card interest. These are like big problems after he gets a bunch of money from like Wall Street and big pharma, and he's voting against Medicare for all. These are things that we keep asking for, and he's just not in favor of it. And he also hasn't drafted his own like major legislation that really helps the people. So, it's a lot of things like that that really has sparked my like anger with him that pushed me away from because I used to support him. I voted for him. I live in the district my entire life. So when I started watching him and seeing like, well, this guy doesn't I don't feel represented by him. He like I think I can do different. I think I can change that. If nobody feels represented. If I don't feel represented, then there's other people who are just not feeling represented. And even if people are, I think one of the big tricks when I'm speaking to people right now is showing them his level of betrayal, showing them how he has failed the neighborhood. And that's really kind of where my focus is at now. Yeah.
Thank you. What about you and your career and your accomplishments and your MBA make the case, Vance, that you're more than qualified to be congressman?
Well, I think where I'm qualified is my actual lived experience. I have this unique perspective on the world and on humanity, and I feel like I'm in touch with nature enough that that's what we need. We're missing people who actually care about people. We're missing people who want to help humanity thrive more, who want to help us grow more. That's something like I may not be a congressman per se, I may not be a politician, but what I am is a real person. I am a regular person. I've worked in the food industry my entire life. I know service to people when I have to work numerous shifts in a row and then still smile at the end of that and make sure that the customer is having a good time. This is something, that connection with people that I think all of Congress, not just Hakeem, but all of Congress is missing. Just the level of humanity. There's a lot of career politicians. There's not enough public servants. And that's something that my background offers is real public servitude, like at its core. Like that's whether it's art, whether it's service industry stuff, I am a public servant. And like when I show up, when I'm ready to work, like I have a very good work ethic. I like putting the people first. I like interacting with people. And these are the things that I think are my strength when I come into this and when I made the decision to run for office. I felt that that would be what we need. We need somebody who cares about human. We need real public servants, and that's where I shine the most.
Thank you. I just looked at a map of New York's 8th district. It looks like a third or one fourth of Brooklyn, or is it more of Brooklyn than that? How much of Brooklyn is the 8th district, or how many districts does Brooklyn have?
Brooklyn has, I think it's about three. I think it's 12, a part of 12 because the 12 goes to Manhattan, 10, 8, and maybe I don't know if 9 is on this side or if that's over in Manhattan also. But let's just say three to be on the safe side.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, but the district looks like a backwards C, I would say. It goes from like North Brooklyn. It's all in Brooklyn, but it goes North Brooklyn, East Brooklyn, down to South Brooklyn. Um, it's about 750 people in the district.
Well, wait.
Yeah,
How many?
750 people. 750,000, sorry. People in
Thank
the
you.
district. My bad.
Indeed. No, no.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. No part of Queens. It cuts right off at the county. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, right at the line.
Okay. And your MBA, what are you doing now besides campaigning, which is going to take full time, but you'll get there
Yeah.
if you're not there already. What are you doing now?
Once I graduated, well, when I was in school, originally the plan was to, I have this service industry background. I wanted to take that, and I like accounting. I've done a lot of assistant managerial work and managerial work also in general, in the field. So like I was like, I really want to get into like offices of restaurants and help them thrive. Like I got my front of house knowledge, I got my back of house knowledge. I could really take that into the office, really kind of round out the picture and really help a restaurant grow after graduating and kind of making my mind with running for Congress and while looking for work also at the beginning. And that's just a whole other story, just like trying to find work in New York City right now. It's or anywhere really. I'm pretty sure it's pretty difficult. But yeah, I haven't really got back into anything. I am currently not working, as especially I'm working on the campaign, so that is a full-time kind of position. It's something where I've dedicated all my time to. All of my attention is fully focused on this campaign right now. But at the beginning, before when I was kind of like weighing out the options, I was looking for like regular like kitchen work, like data entry or even assistant manager, like kitchen stuff, or restaurant really, I should say. That was what I was doing in the beginning, yeah. But then once I like got into the campaign and kind of committed to it, I was like, this is going to take my full commitment, and this is really what I want to focus on now.
Thank you. The issues that you've described, they're pretty front and center on your website. And as you campaign, describe how you're trying to get known in the district and how you're trying to, I assume, constantly learn more about your district. Describe kind of day to day. What's it like being Vance these days?
Yeah, right now I'm doing a lot of like outreach online. So far with the campaign, it's just so I'm a one-man band. I don't have a campaign manager. I don't have anybody else working on the campaign. There are a lot of people who give advice, but so far it's really just me. I'm in the process of putting together a team so I can do more, especially more out in the community. But like I'm trying to connect with organizers. I'm going out to events. I've done some pantries. I've done some street cleaning events. And I really like I really like doing those things. I like getting into the street. I like getting dirty. I like getting my hand. Like I'm a service worker. I lift boxes. This is kind of like what I do. So like I'm all about that stuff, but I'm doing a lot of door knocking these days right now specifically. Speaking to the neighbors, I'm going to different neighborhoods. I'm putting up posters. I just got another shipment of posters that I just said they're going to be printed. So I'm excited. I've been meeting a lot of people. I'm talking to people. I'm passing out cards. I'm door knocking. I'm getting involved with organizations around the community, and I'm really just trying to do that. And I really want to get involved more. Like I'm trying to get involved with like unions, especially like service industry unions. Like I really want to get with that. I was over on like a over around the Brooklyn, around my area, at a Starbucks picket recently. So like just like trying to like be involved more in those areas. That's really like where my focus is at. But I'm putting up more posters. I'll be giving out more cards. I'll be doing more door knocking. I'll be working with more organizations as the months go on. So it's just stuff that'll continue going on that I'm getting into for sure.
When did you launch your campaign?
Back in July. I launched back in July.
Thank
I
you.
filed in like August, mid to late August, I believe it was.
And before July, how long were you considering running, or when did you make up your mind? Yeah, I'm doing this.
Well, back in January, while I was in school still, when Trump had his inauguration speech, that speech to me felt like a declaration of war against the people. So from there, I was like, well, this is a problem. Like, what are we gonna do? So from all that time from January up until like June, I was like, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna do this? How do I help? How do I make a difference in the community, in the neighborhood, in the government, in any area? Everybody kept saying, what do we do? How do we rectify this situation? We're watching Elon with the chainsaw against the government, slash all of our services. It was just for months, it was just this downhill. So that whole time I'm like, how do I get involved? It was then once when Zoran won the primary, it was at that moment that I was like, I think like because I felt hope. And I'm like, this is what we miss. We're missing. We're missing people getting involved. We're missing people relating to their representatives. So at that point, I was like, and I kind of had suspicion at the like when at the beginning of the year when Elon was taking the chainsaw, Jeffries flew to Silicon Valley to go meet with the tech bros to make sure his shit was in order. Sorry, I don't know if I could curse, but to make sure his stuff was in order. Um, yeah, so it was at that point I was like I kind of watched his record a little more. When the APAC tracker had released his photo, his little graph photo, I kind of that's when I looked into his voting record and his donor list. And from there I was like, well, now I feel tricked by him. And then slowly but surely it was just like Hakeem is kind of like a problem. All of Congress is kind of like a problem. No, we don't really have any leadership. Zoran won. He made me feel hope. I was like, this is what people are missing. And it was sometime in June that I was like, I believe that this is what I need to do. I feel like greater calling to a sense of service to the community right now. And with that hope that I was feeling and watching the government crumble and watching leadership just be a failure, I was kind of like, Congress is where things are going to change. If I want to make a change in the system, that's where it's going to have to start. We're going to have to rewrite the laws in favor of the people.
Yeah, I'm how much of a student of American history or student of political successes or what political heroes do you have? Talk about those kind of things.
I really, really admire Shirley Chisholm right now. Like, especially with me running in Brooklyn, she's kind of somebody that I've been rewatching documentaries on her. I've been watching a lot of videos just to rebrush because her energy and her spirit and everything is just giving me so much motivation and it's making me very courageous. So I've really been paying attention to a lot of things that she's done lately. That's definitely who I've been pulling inspiration from in this run, for
Well,
sure. I
teach
really love what
people
she's done.
teach people who she is or was. I'm not sure she's still around. Is she?
No, I believe she's gone now. But yeah, no, Shirley Chisholm, I will say she was the was she was the first black woman to run for Congress, and to get elected. Yeah, I believe that. She was also the first black woman to run for presidency. Sadly, she didn't win the presidency, but she did win, and she took a big risk, and it was unbought and unbossed, and that was her slogan for that. And she's just somebody to admire. There's a school named after her here in Brooklyn, and yeah, I believe her district, I don't want to be mistaken, but I believe it was New York 10. I want to say it was New York 10. I believe so. But yeah, yeah, she's from Bed-Stuy, out here in Brooklyn, and that's just or Crown Heights. They're kind of like intermingle with each other, Bed-Stuy and Crown Heights. So yeah, that's who Shirley Chisholm was. She was the first black congresswoman. She also was the first black woman to, well, no, she wasn't the first black woman to run for president, but she did run a legit campaign for presidency. So that was pretty cool.
What years was she in Congress, and what year did she run for president?
Oh, those I don't remember the years exactly. Oh, it was in 85 maybe was the presidency, I want to say. Maybe it wasn't 85, maybe it was in the 70s. I actually don't know, and I don't want to
Well,
sound foolish.
no, I didn't know if you had it at your fingertips
No, I
because
don't.
from my foggy memory, I remember her name from my childhood. I remember reading about her at the
Hmm.
kitchen table. I grew up in New Jersey, and she's a name I think from the 1970s. Maybe is when she was in
Yeah,
Congress.
yeah,
And I'm going to do some searching about her just for my own gratification, because I remember she was influential, from decades ago. So
yeah, she
thank you
was.
for
So I,
that.
I've
Yeah,
really just been kind of like trying to pay attention to how she done things, her attitude, her vibe. That's really what I've been trying to draw inspiration from for sure. She's very inspirational.
yeah. And I'm going to assume that the top issues that you discussed week by week, you're confirming, yes, this is what my district cares about. This is what they want to hear about. Did you get that from your district, or did you feel these are the issues I think people will care about, and you're finding that they do? Kind of what came first in determining those as your top issues?
Yeah, so when I was initially when I announced that I was running, I really did not want to have a platform at all. That was like a thing that I didn't want to do. My idea was to have the district and the community kind of formulate the platform and what we really wanted ourselves. But as the weeks went on from the beginning, people kept saying you need to have a platform. Like I want to see a platform. I'm not going to take you serious unless you have a platform. So when I came up with and these are things that I selected that I believed would help the community. These are things that I believe that we keep talking about. Housing the people, Medicare for all. The artist and gig workers bill of rights is something that I personally kind of wanted. It's as a service industry and as an artist person, that's something that I was like, we need to have more protection for these people. This is the background. That's the life that I live. I understand the struggle of that field. So that's definitely something that I want. But even with like the police safety, these are kind of areas that I strongly felt that would benefit the people. And as I go through the campaign, these are areas that I do find that are supported by the people for sure. Yeah,
Very, very nice. Are you ready to talk about some small business issues?
for sure.
Well, as you know, we wrote you and said, hey, listen, run to do these things, and we think it'll help you win. And you replied, and I looked at your website and I invited you on the show. And I want your thoughts about this, what we endeavored to teach you and hundreds of other candidates. We're reaching out to 1,800 candidates for the midterm next year, House
Hmm.
and Senate. And many of them are replying, wow, this is great. Tell me more. And we're vetting them, and I can only interview so many on the show. And it's simply this. Every year, the federal government is supposed to steer 23% of its budget to small
Hmm.
businesses, 23%. And every year it says, we did. Isn't that great? The SBA oversees that. And unfortunately, it's not true. Lloyd Chapman, who created the American Small Business League, ASBL.com, started winning legal battles 35, 40 years ago and found the vast majority of small business contracts, Vance, go to the 1/10 of 1% of businesses that are big businesses. 99.9% of all businesses in America are small businesses. 98% have less than 100 employees. And because the vast majority of federal contracts go to big businesses, they don't create new jobs to do that work. They're already big. But if small businesses actually got those contracts, they would create 2 million new jobs every year on top of the 2 million that America typically creates. It would be an economic boom of
Yep.
epic proportions. The middle class is being starved by its lawful, rightful, I'm going to say entitlement, by virtue of what the federal contracts that they're supposed to get and they don't. Our foot in the door, our exciting, hey, pay attention to this issue to get people's attention about this stuff, as you know, is our Don't Cheat Women.com project, where we want candidates like you to run and say, this is what I'm going to do. And we want Congress, if they did it this year, that'd be great, to raise from 5% to 15% the amount of federal contracts that must go to women owned small businesses for many reasons and many benefits. And I'll do this as efficiently as I possibly can. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Women are half the population. I'm told, no, Bruce, they're more than half the population. Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
They own 40% of all businesses in America, and they sell what the government buys. Why is it okay for the law to say they should only get 5% of federal contracts? Why is it okay that companies owned by men should get 95% of all federal contracts? And I'm here to tell you, why is it okay that in reality, women owned businesses probably get less than 1% because of the muddle and the fuddle and the obfuscation that people can read about at ASBL.com that shows like, no, small businesses are not getting the contracts they're supposed to get, including those owned by women. And here's what will happen when they not only get what they're supposed to, but it goes from 5 to 15%. Okay. That extra 10% would create an extra million jobs. So all the contracts going to small businesses would go from 23% to 33% of the contracts. That would create about 3 million new jobs. But here's where it gets great for women. Right now, men dominate in politics because they earn and save more than women. Men can donate, they donate far more to politicians than women, so they have more influence at that level. Men run for and win office more than women because they can afford to. 75% of all seats in the House, all seats in the Senate, every president's cabinet are held by men. Every state legislature, 75% men. Almost that many governor chairs. 90% of committee chair and party leadership positions held by men. And women have different priorities, wisdom, values, wants, needs, and
Yep.
desires, talents, skills, and wisdom. We need all of the human race participating in this experiment of
Yep.
self government. So that's what we're giving you on a silver platter, laying at your feet, saying, look at it, go to our sites, get convinced about this kind of information, and then road test it in your campaign. Put it on your website and say, oh, by the way, one extra wonderful thing I'm going to do when I get to Congress is
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to champion this, and here are the reasons why, and see if it helps you win. Obviously, the road test is, does it help Vance win? But we think this is such a uniting issue. It's not
Yeah.
Republican, it's not Democrat, it's not
Yeah.
left, it's not right. It's just reality. So,
Yep.
small businesses, the contracts that should be going to small businesses, the amount that should be going to women owned small businesses, that those particular things, Vance, what do you think about those?
Yeah, I will say when going through the website, like I didn't even realize that small businesses were like from 500 to 1,000 like employees. Like that is kind of crazy. That is excessive. So lessening that
Well,
number to a
I'm sorry. Yes, let's get it to a more reasonable thing. Right now, the loose definition of a small business, according to the federal government, is up to 500 employees.
okay.
Okay. We think that's far too much because 98% of all businesses have less than 100 employees. That ought to be the quote unquote guiding rule or official definition.
Yeah.
What we wrote you was all the different agencies have different rules and regs that they can abide by that lets them give small business contracts to big businesses, or said another
Hmm.
way, give contracts worth billions to big businesses and report those as, oh, those were small business
Yeah.
contracts. Like you were saying, to companies that have 1,000 employees, 2,000 employees, because of the picayune little definition for that
Hmm.
agency, and that agency has different rules, that agency has different rules, and that lets the SBA sum them all up every year and say, oh, we gave more than 23% of federal contracts to small businesses. Sorry to jump in and correct you there.
Yeah, no, thank you for doing that for sure. But I mean, overall, I think this is just we talk about a lot about common sense issues, but this entire thing feels like a very common sense issue. We want equality across the board. We want this to be something that everybody participates in all areas, from work to Congress. This is something that I definitely support, and it is a common sense issue that it transcends left and right politics. This is kind of a
Mm.
universal problem that we all face, and it's something that should be established and something that should be done. Yeah, for sure.
And,
I'd be
and I
happy
think you
to
have a
support
strong
all of
hand.
it.
Say that again.
I said I'd be happy to support all of it for sure.
Well, thank you. I'm not surprised because you coming forth with, Repeal Citizens United, that this is what I'm describing is a symptom of the corporate capture of
Yeah,
Washington, D.C., is giant corporate interests
yeah,
have control of our representatives, have control of the agencies. There are
yeah,
often revolving doors between the agency personnel who give contracts to big businesses, and then those executives come in and replace
yeah,
them and then continue to give the contracts to the company that they used to work
yeah,
for. And that's what can get cleaned up. Also, this is an unknown issue because if you Google search, you're going to see the official story. Well, the mainstream media and the sources that feed a lot of AI results come from these giant corporations that are working hand in glove, shoulder to shoulder since at least World War II.
yeah,
This was such a problem by 1953. That's when Congress passed the Small Business Act that created the Small Business Administration to and said steer a fair portion of federal contracts to small businesses. And over the decades, it's become 23%. So your instincts are spot on. And I'm not surprised you appreciated this because we've got to send real people to Congress to
yeah,
represent the real human issues, wants, and needs of their constituents, and
yeah,
not these men and women who get so much corporate money that it's not that Congress is bombarded by too many lobbyists. It's many
yeah,
people say Congress is literally filled with lobbyists, people
yeah.
who take money from giant corporations.
Yep. And just so they can vote on their behalf, they literally write laws for them that favor them, and it's a problem. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely kind of like what we were talking about before when I was like, the healthcare kind of goes into the Bill of Rights for the artists and gigs, and everything kind of works into each other, and that's kind of like the idea of the platform that I'm building. Is that so? It's like Legos, everything can kind of stack with each other and work together to be something uniform that really benefits the masses as a whole. That's definitely like where my focus is at for sure.
Between now and the general, you have a primary, right?
There is a primary. That's what I'm focused on right now. Is a primary is June 23rd.
Okay. How many contenders in the field challenging Mr. Jeffries for the position?
Just me right now. Only
Okay.
I. I mean, there was Chiosei who was running. Apparently he backed out. He said it was just an experimental like phase at that point in time. So
Who
yeah,
was
he's
that?
no
Who was
longer
that? I missed that name. Who?
Chiosei. He's a council member here. I
Okay.
think District 36 Council District. I can't remember some of it, but I think it's District
Okay.
36.
Okay.
But yeah, no, he's not running anymore. Yeah, so it's just me. Hopefully it stays that way.
Well, I'm
Not
intrigued to
that
learn.
I don't want anybody else to run. I would love to have other people run, but yeah, I think it is just we really want to focus on getting Hakeem out. I think I have a very good shot at winning. When I speak to people around the district, like people are over Hakeem. People are very supportive of the vision that I had. People, like I said, we need real people in these positions. When I tell people we need real people representing real people, they kind of like, yeah, you're right. So hopefully they take that to the ballot box when it's time to vote.
Well, I wish you every success. You've got a lot of energy. You've got a great grasp on the things that you're talking about, and your mission is simple. You don't sleep between now and the primary, and you try to meet every single voting age person in the district, and
Yeah.
literally, can I have your vote? Hi, my name is. I want to do this as your congressman. Can I have your vote? And the
Yeah.
history of American politics says that can tip the scale. People
Yeah.
will vote. Why'd you vote for that person? That's not even your lifelong party.
Hmm.
He asked me to, and I said I would, so I got to vote for him. Sometimes it
Yeah.
might, maybe it boils down to that. That might be naive and idealistic,
No, I
but
mean,
it's
I've been
inspirational. What you're doing is inspirational.
yeah, I've been when I've been door knocking, there's more people who support me than I've only ran into a very small amount of people that are like, no, I support Jeffries. I'm definitely voting for him. But the majority of people that I've been speaking to, they see the vision. They like what I'm talking about. They like what I'm representing. And it's encouraging to get that feedback. Again, I'm happy that it's not like door to door to door. Everybody's like, Jeffries, Jeffries, we want him, we want him. It's not that at all, thankfully. So when I look at people talk about the polls say like he has 75% approval rating in his district, that's not what I'm feeling on the streets. When I'm out and I'm speaking to people, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like people are over him and they're ready for change.
You might consider on the top part of your website, above the fold in old newspaper language, right?
Hmm.
To have something discreet because you're so positive and optimistic, and you're actually a gentleman in the way, even the way you've critiqued Mr. Jeffries. But there might be some way, because when you do meet someone who says, "Oh, I'm Jeffries all the way," well, you might want to go to my website, sir, ma'am,
Hmm.
and read why he may not necessarily be what the media portrays him to be. You need to plant that seed of doubt. You need to plant that seed of, in my
Yeah.
humble opinion.
I mean, I the first set
I've
of
never run
posters,
for office, so I'll be
mhm.
brief on my advice, but you get the point.
Yeah, the first set of posters I put up was a Hakeem betrayal. I basically was showing his voting record and his donor list. And those went up. Well, I had 500 of those printed out. I actually put all of those up by myself, all around the district. And I am planning on putting up a section on my website that kind of is going to be called Betrayal or Hakeem's Betrayal. That kind of shows like all of this as well, and a bunch of other little details about why I feel like he's no longer in touch with the community.
Yeah, if he's not really representing the community and you can
Hmm.
show how he's consistently voting on behalf of big money interests,
Yeah,
that could really tilt the scales for you,
yeah.
Vance,
I
because
mean, that's what I'm leaning into.
well, it's you know what? It's reality, and we have to
Hmm.
trust in it. And it leads me to suggest, and this might be, I don't know where your head's about this, but you know, the first time we do something, if we fail, it's tempting to quit. So if you don't make it past the primary, I want to
Hmm.
challenge you. Uncle Bruce wants to challenge you by saying, listen, just keep learning about your district, keep telling the district
Yeah,
that you're in love with the district and you have a vision in 28 of, because
yeah,
if you are if you're filled with your district, their hopes, their
yeah.
dreams, and every conversation gives you more stories to tell the next time you're interviewed or the next time you're on a platform, and you just blossom and grow as the representative for your district, you'll be able to, roll with any punches that happen this time around
Yeah.
and be that much more poised and giant and irresistible, 3 years from now. And that's just perspective. That's just long range so that you take
Yeah.
the pressure off yourself. I got to win the primary. I got to win the primary. Half of you has to live like that. I got to win the primary, but the
Yeah.
other half of you needs to be celebrating. Nobody loves my district more than me.
Hmm.
That's unstoppable, and that will
Yeah.
win either this year or next or the cycle after that. Did that make
Yeah.
sense?
No, totally. And I mean, as somebody I've grown up here my entire life in the district, whether it was in Coney Island or where I'm living now in Flatbush, it's still a part of the district, either way. But yeah, no, I love these streets. I love the neighborhood. I love the people here. I've worked in the district my entire life. I've worked in Brooklyn my entire life, all different areas. I've done a lot of different jobs. So the people in the area, the neighborhoods, this is something it's in my blood. It's in my body. It's who I am as a person. And I will say one thing, like even if it's like delusional, I feel very confident about winning, especially when I'm on the streets, when I'm talking to the people, they really give me that courage and that confidence that's like, we're gonna win this. There's not a day that goes by that I even like question, like, am I gonna win or am I not gonna win? Like, I'm confident that this change will happen, and I'm confident that I just have to keep reaching to people. I have to keep hitting the streets. I have to keep pushing the message and get people to wake up and snap out of it. Because there are a lot of people, there are people out there who are like, Hakeem all the way. But like we got to get people to see the truth, to see like the betrayal trail, and that's really where my focus is at now. But I do feel confident in winning. I am focused on the primary. I don't necessarily think about the future. If I do think about the future, I mean, this is what I want. This is the path. I'm a public servant. I think that it's time that even with my knowledge, even though I had plans of going back into a restaurant, I think this is where I'm needed in life at this moment in time and moving forward for sure.
Well, you sound like the passion's authentic, and more unsolicited advice. When you get volunteers, what can I do? What can I do? You might tell somebody, listen, I need someone to be an expert on the district who spends their every waking hour learning more and more and more and more about the district. Because I don't have time to research the district as I'm trying to research everything else that Vance needs to know in order to
Hmm.
run an effective campaign. So that
Yeah.
when your district expert is in the car with you, when you're going to your next appearance, you can say, all right, what'd you learn about the district this week? And you can hear it
Yeah.
because that that gives you so much power when you open your mouth.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, nobody loves the district more than Vance. You've got to be able to say that, and you've got to make people feel like
Hmm.
nobody knows the district like Vance.
Hmm.
Nobody loves the district because that equals no one should go represent the district more than Vance. You get the point.
I get it. I love it. I do.
All right. Your website again is tell me.
Vance B for NY8.com.
Correct. And this has been a pleasure. We're going to stay in touch. I'm going to talk to you when we're done recording. I want to thank you very much, Vance.
Thank
And
you.
I want to thank everybody for watching and listening today.